Am I the jerk for telling my sister I will never forgive her? Let's call her A. Last week I went to pick up my children from my mother's house after work. My sister, A, was there and looked upset. I asked her what was wrong. She told me nothing and that she was on her way out with her child, a 2-year-old. I went to the kitchen to grab a bite and offered her some food, hoping she would tell me what she was upset about while we ate. She refused. I sat down to eat, and she told me that some of the children's breath smelled and that she would never come back to our mother's house. I asked her how she smelled the children's breath, and if she or they were in each other's faces. She didn't answer the question but made a face. While still eating, I noticed my 5-year-old refusing to share a toy he had brought from home with her child. I told him that sharing is caring and that he should share. My sister started laughing while looking at my visibly upset 5-year-old. I told her this was not acceptable. She left shortly after with her child. I asked our mother what was wrong with AA. Mom told me I came to drop her son off so she could go nap. Mom told her she couldn't because she had enough children at the moment and her son and my child don't get along well. I shared with Mom what A had said about the children's breath. Mom's response was that since A is pregnant and can't stand certain smells, she could have just left or gone downstairs. Mom didn't say anything about how the comment was not okay. I left shortly after, but the comment I made didn't sit right with me. This isn't the first time A has made comments about other people's children, including strangers' children at playgrounds and other places. I texted her later that night, telling her I'm not okay with the comment she made and that she is allowed to provoke my child. To me, it seemed like she was trying to provoke my child for not sharing with her so she could get a reaction out of him. She has done this a handful of times before, and I have told her not to, but the behavior still continues. She always does it when I am disciplining him. She blew up. I called my child a bully for not wanting to share with her child and for not wanting to play with him. She basically called me a bad parent for having a child who didn't want to share and told me to do better. She used lots of profanity and called me delusional and narcissistic. I was taken aback and hurt by what was said. I told her I would never forgive her. She told me she doesn't need my forgiveness. Today I got a call from our oldest sister, B. I called her and told her I said I was not going to forgive her for disciplining my son. This is a lie. B said I should discipline my son so that he doesn't end up embarrassing me in public. She said that I should give A break because she is pregnant and that I should apologize to A. She didn't ask me for my side of the story. Nothing. I said okay to everything B said, not because I agree but because I was hurt and didn't know what to say. I don't plan on ever apologizing to A. Am I the asshole here? You behaved properly. Keep standing up for yourself just like you did with A. With regards to A, keep her away from your kids since she has a history of bullying them and undermining your parenting. It doesn't matter if she's family. She's being awful to your kid. If you don't protect your child from people like that, who will? Am I the jerk for not paying for my partner's Uber? My 25-year-old boyfriend, who is 24 years old, owns a business and has been stressed for the past couple of months as it has been difficult for him to make ends meet. He does get income on the side from investments, but it is not enough to cover all his expenses. I understand all this, and I have tried to be supportive in the ways I can. As a result, I mostly cover my own meals and Ubers when I visit him about once a week. We live 30 minutes apart. I am a student, and I still live at home. He also lives at home. I tutor on the side, but the amount of spending money I have on hand is just over half the minimum wage in my country. I try to be wise with my spending to maximize covering my travel costs, personal expenses, and dates with my boyfriend. One of the ways I do this is by subscribing to an Uber subscription, which allows me to get 5% cash back on my rides and free delivery for food deliveries. My boyfriend has an outstanding amount on his app that he has been refusing to settle since January, so he has asked to use mine and pay me whenever he wants to order food or send a package. I have agreed as I like, being able to save him a little money on the delivery fees and promotions. I have done this 23 times, and on occasion I have paid for his food just because I want to do a nice gesture. He is a fussy eater, and I have often had to call the store to make sure they have removed the things he does not like from his order. Today I was going to Uber to him and he asked if I could also order him an Uber to send a package to his business. I agreed as he would only be paying 2/3 of the original price. As I was about to order, he asked if I could pay for the Ubers and he could cover dinner instead. I was not happy as I figured this should be a business expense of his and not a personal favor. I was willing to do so anyway until I started filling out the collection details and he kept changing the pin location, which made the rate go up. I was frustrated and told him he should do it himself, and I felt like he was starting to take advantage of my kindness. He apologized, said he would sort out the Uber, and paid me back for the last food order I had covered for him, which I did not ask him to do. I felt bad because I like doing nice gestures for him, but I feel like he pushes it too far. Am I the asshole for not just ordering the Uber and letting him cover dinner? In these kinds of situations, trust your instincts and stop doubting yourself. That boundary is important and very easy to stomp, and letting it slide would lead to worse issues and feelings. He needs to reciprocate and not take advantage of your kindness. You are not in the wrong here. You can Uber him to your place for some fun, but Ubering him anywhere he asks is already out of bounds. Am I the jerk for not inviting my parents to my graduation? I, a 20-year-old female, just graduated from university with a bachelor's degree in it. I know it seems unusual to graduate at 20, but I started school young and finished my degree in 3 years. My graduation ceremony will be on Monday, June 24th. Each student gets 3 invitations. Most people invite their parents, obviously, but I don't want to invite mine. My mother, who is 50 years old, and my father, who is 65 years old, are not the best parents. I love them, I really do, but the way they criticize me is exhausting. Since I was born, my parents loved to compare me to my cousins and friends of the same age. As I entered high school, I went from being this outgoing, extroverted girl to an insecure, burnt-out girl who would question everything she did and whether her parents would approve. High school in my area was, and still is, a big deal because it shapes your future. I graduated with a 93%, and they were furious, telling me that I didn't do enough. It was true, and I ended up getting rejected twice from nursing school. It was so competitive, and my cousin got in, which made my mother upset. She started crying and blaming me because she wanted me to be a nurse. I applied to major in it and got accepted. I struggled, and I wasn't the best at coding, but I did my best while studying and working at the same time to pay for my tuition because my father refused to pay. 3 years later, I finally graduated. They made me feel like I was always behind while others were growing, developing, and actually turning into adults. That is why I pressured myself into getting the degree in 3 years. I thought it would make them happy that I, along with my friends, were on the same path and maybe even a step ahead, but no, they did not appreciate it. Despite my efforts, the criticism and judgment from my parents never stopped, and my relationship with them remained strained. After years of physical and mental abuse, I still hate and blame myself whenever they say they're disappointed in me. For my graduation, I was planning on inviting only my 2 sisters and a cousin, but my mother told me that, unfortunately, she and my father would have to attend because if they didn't, people would talk. We had relatives going to the same university as me, and she cares a lot about what other people think. They will criticize my every move. My father judges the way I walk and even breathe, saying it irritates him and makes me look like an idiot. Graduates who graduated with honors will be given a special scarf to wear with the gown. I didn't graduate with honors, even though I worked my hardest. The pressure was insane and I feel ashamed. It will make them more disappointed in me to look at these students and then look at me wearing only the gown, with the disappointment I've caused them on my shoulders. I really want to have fun and enjoy the ceremony because I didn't have the chance to in high school due to COVID-19, because they told me that my results were not worth celebrating. I can't stop thinking about how they will drain my energy and suck every drop of happiness from me. I'm sure they will make this day miserable and one of the worst days of my life. Am I the asshole for not wanting them to come? There's no need to detail all the ways your parents failed you to justify your decision. The fact that they weren't supportive or that you were worried they'd spend the day criticizing you is more than enough. You took on all the financial responsibility of university by yourself, so they have no entitlement to make demands or decisions on your behalf. Congratulations on your graduation. Now surround yourself with those who genuinely care about you and want to celebrate your achievements. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my stepbrother get a job? I am a 16-year-old male who works for my dad's best friend. He owns his own business and was best friends with my dad. He knows me well, so when I started looking for a part-time job 2 summers ago, he was willing to let me work for him. He is basically my uncle, and I really love working for him. He has a great reputation for being an awesome boss, but he only takes on a few teenagers in the summer and is very selective about who he hires because of bad past experiences. He sees me as family, so he gives my opinion on potential hires a little more weight. I don't think he bases his decisions solely on my opinion, but I do have more influence with him than many others would. My mom is remarried and I have a stepfather and a stepbrother. My stepbrother is the same age as I am and wanted to get a job for the first time this summer. My mom and her husband were really hoping he would get to work for my dad's best friend. He wanted to as well and submitted an early application for a position. In April, my mom and her husband told me I needed to speak to my dad's best friend and convince him to hire my stepbrother because he would be guaranteed a job then. I told them I wouldn't do that. My mom said she and my dad's best friend never got along, and it got worse after my dad died, so she couldn't do it. I told her that was not my problem and that my stepbrother had to go through the same process everyone else did. Her husband told me I got a job without any interview. I said the difference is that I'm family to him, and he wanted me to work for him. They said my stepbrother is family. I ignored that point and said I wouldn't talk to my dad's best friend for him. He didn't get a job with my dad's best friend. He sent in the application and got rejected. 2 others were hired instead. He was bummed, and my mom and her husband were angry. They said they knew I didn't talk to him because if I had, my stepbrother would have gotten the job. I reminded them that I told them I wasn't going to do it. They said I should be helping my brother and being a better sibling to him. They told me it was a small ask and I had no good reason to refuse. My mom threatened to stop me from working for my dad's best friend over this. I told her I just wouldn't work, which angered her and her husband. My stepbrother got a different job, but his boss is unpleasant. This brought all the issues back up, and I was reminded again that I was wrong. Am I the antagonist? You behaved properly. It's understandable that you're in a tough spot with your family dynamics. You did the right thing by maintaining your integrity and not letting personal pressure influence your dad's best friend's hiring decisions. Your mom and stepfather's reaction, while frustrating, doesn't change the fact that you handled the situation fairly. Stay true to your principles and hopefully they'll come to understand your perspective in time. Am I the jerk for leaving my partner at the beach and letting them walk home? My girlfriend, a 34-year-old female, and I, a 33-year-old male, have been together for 3 years and recently went camping at a state park in the Midwest. We decided to go for a swim at a nearby river, which was a 4-minute drive from our campsite. Once we arrived, she showed me that she had wrapped her items in our beach towel, creating a makeshift bag. She had her 32-ounce tumbler with a mixed drink and several other items. I had a pool noodle. I hadn't thought about offering to help carry her items because she seemed happy with her makeshift bag and appeared to have it under control. Unfortunately, her bag unraveled and she dropped her items. I realized that she could probably use some help now. I offered to assist, but she refused and started complaining that she had spilled over half of her mixed drink. She said, "Over half my drink is gone and you don't have one, so that sucks." I wasn't planning on drinking and she was aware of that. I asked if she wanted to go back to the camper for a refill, but she declined. She then stated that I was boring and used to be more fun. At this comment, I told her that I no longer wanted to swim with her and turned back toward the truck. She said, "Fine, pick me up at 5. It was about 4 p.m. I went to a lookout about 5 minutes away. At 4:30 p.m. I went back to the beach, figuring maybe I could swim with her if she was in a better space. As I was walking down, I saw her heading my way. I told her I came back so we could maybe swim a little before heading back. She ignored me and walked past the truck. I asked what she was doing, and she turned around and loudly stated that she is not talking to me or acknowledging me until we swim together. I said, "Fine, let's go swim then." She said that she's not walking all the way back down there and continued down the road. I got in the truck and caught up to her, asking her to get in the truck. She refused. I pulled ahead and parked the truck. I offered her the keys and told her to take the truck, and I'll walk. She refused. She continued walking towards our campsite with all the aforementioned items in tow. I pulled up to her again, now on the curvy main road, pleading for her to get in the truck. I was worried about her walking back to the campsite because the road was narrow, had a lot of curves, and minimal shoulder to walk on. I turned around and stopped again when I saw her, pleading for her to get in yet again. She ignored me. I told her it was a long walk, all uphill, and would likely take at least 20 more minutes. No response. I turned around and stopped again and said, "This is the last time I'm going to ask you to get in." She ignored me. I drove back to the campsite and waited for her. She told her parents, who were at the campsite next to us, that she walked home from the beach. Her mom became angry with me for letting her walk home, and my girlfriend is still treating me like I'm terrible for leaving her at the beach. You are not responsible for this. It's pretty clear that she was acting incredibly childish throughout the whole situation. From refusing help and then complaining about the drink to demanding a swim and then refusing to walk back, there was no winning. Her behavior was just unreasonable, and it's tough to deal with someone who won't communicate or compromise. Would I be the asshole to leave my mom and move in with my dad, who doesn't have the money to take care of both of us? My mother and I live together, but I cannot stand her. When I was 9 years old, she broke up with my father and moved us to Las Vegas, where we lived for 4 years. During those years, she became a weed smoker and still smokes it every day, which might be an addiction for her. She is known for being in denial over certain things, like whenever I confronted her about her smoking and her past abusive ex-boyfriends. She has been in denial about not liking me as well. Because of our unstable relationship, we tend to argue a lot about trivial matters, and sometimes these arguments get out of hand. What makes it worse is how she tells everyone about our arguments and blames me as the bad person, although she tells me to move forward and forget about them. I find it difficult to do so. Unlike my mother, my father and I have a better relationship. He treated me the way I like to be treated. Before my mother left him, he was not much help around the house, which is the reason why my mother left him. 2 years after we moved to Las Vegas, he came to live there as well. Now, my mother and I have moved, and my father still lives there. He wants to move but does not have the money to do so or to move me in with him. Whenever my mother and I argue, she tells me how disrespectful I am, although she is disrespectful as well but does not see it. There have been times she talked about her ex-boyfriends, current crushes at work, or other things that make me uncomfortable. I have asked her not to talk about those topics around me, but she does not listen. My mother also opens my bedroom door when I am asleep in the morning. I have asked her not to open my door when I am asleep, but again she does not listen. Sometimes I do not even see her as my mother. She is more like an annoying roommate. She goes out with her friends and sometimes comes home late, a bit out of it. Because of that, I do her chores while she is away. I take out the trash, do the dishes, make sure our dogs do not die, and I have lifted things for her, although she can lift them herself as well. It has become extremely annoying that she wants to make our relationship better. However, lines have been crossed, and because of that I choose to stay distant, but she does not understand that. It's a bit confusing whether this is being written about a minor or an adult. If the dad can't afford to support, how would living with him work out? Plus, wouldn't the mother need to pay child support to help the situation if living with the dad? It's important to consider these aspects to understand the full picture. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.